Kalah Sprabeary with Hub Funding Solutions.
Thank you for joining the program today. Appreciate it very much. We're going to talk about some different programs that can be done in the world of financing. Hub Funding Solutions. Kalah Sprabeary, how are you doing today?
I'm good. How are you?
Not too bad, not too bad. I'd like to stay in touch with someone who has a pulse on the, everything finance, because it seems in the world of business, things happen so fast, especially as we enter a global marketplace. I mean, that's been happening for over 15 years, but it's really ramped up over the past, 3, 4, 5 years. And I wanted to ask you about credit scores, that sort of thing. I mean, first of all, what kind of programs do you guys have going on? And then transition that into if anybody's got any ones with good credit scores. I know that a lot of times people get some preferred programs when it comes to good credit scores, but what do you guys got cooking for programs these days?
Yeah. We've always had our standard working capital and equipment and vehicle loans. That's kind of been our standard platform that we've set on. But a lot of those weren't geared towards newer businesses. We can do a range of credit scores there, but there were a lot of people we couldn't help with that. So we were searching out a program that could work for more people, more industries, new businesses, and we believe that we found one. So we have a new funding plan that we call it the new entrepreneur plan. And we call it that because it's either somebody who's been in business a while, but they're looking at new options, and they're an entrepreneur, or they're just getting started into business. And, Jason, I don't know if you knew this, but most of the time when you go to a lender, you literally have to be in business, rolling, making a profit if you can, for a year before they'll even look at giving you money.
Sure.
Even the SBA can be a hard one to get past. So
How do you get past that, though? I mean, so many times they need so many different things. Is that where the credit score comes in, where you can get something based on a good credit score?
It does. A good credit score definitely helps. What a lot of people end up doing is they end up getting seed money from family and friends, which happens, but that's not building any credit for the company. So if somebody has, like, say, we'll talk about the ones we have coming up. They actually roll out tomorrow. It's going to be a term loan program, and a business credit card program, and a personal credit card program. So these are really important for a few reasons. There is no minimum time in business, and we don't do a hard credit hit, which I'll talk about here in a minute. And you really only need a 700 credit score to qualify. So with that 700 credit score, I mean, that's a lot of people think, hey, that's unattainable. But we've actually had 2 call in today that aren't quite there. They're like at 650, 675. We're getting them with a credit repair company that we partner with that I've actually used personally. I don't know if I ever told you that. But I had to do some credit repair from a medical issue that I had 3 years ago. I was the one paying the bills, and when I got sick, we missed a couple. Well, we didn't miss. We were late on a couple of payments. And come to find out, it put some dents on our credit, and we wanted to get that up. So we worked with Mr. Credit Solutions, came in, and they fixed our credit. So we like to recommend that our clients go and at least have a conversation with them to see how they can get their credit up. And then when they're ready, when they're at that 700 point, they can come back and we can get rolling. So, it's something that if you're not there, we want to help you get there. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm.
I do. And how long does it take to repair credit on an average? I know everyone's circumstantial, but, if they've got just a couple things to take care of, how long does something like that usually take?
It can normally take anywhere from 30 to 90 days. I think generally if things get a little more complex, it can go a little bit longer. But we've already seen results. It took us about 30 days to start seeing some results, and they've just done a great job. I need to get you on the phone with Chris. He's amazing at that. And their out-of-the-box thinking is really what has made a big difference. I believe in thinking outside of the box, and that's how we try to formulate our funding programs. But yeah, the term loan program is awesome. We're really excited about it. Normally you hear about people that need They're stuck in either they've got to do a 3-year loan or a 15-year loan. And that can be a really long time or a really short time. Too short hurts cash flow. Too long, you're just paying on endless debt. I don't know if you've ever seen anybody stuck in that position, but it's not fun.
So you mentioned these loans are something that's going to be like pretty much based on your credit score, and these really are designed or targeted for startups and people looking at starting a small business, is not for like refinancing a house or anything.
No. This doesn't have anything to do on the personal side. This is business based. This is somebody who has a small business or is starting a small business that basically wants to add to it. Now, we also talked to a major company today that's going to be doing $35 million. They're going to use this program to actually work on some debt refi that was going to be a little more complex. We're going to use this, refi that $300,000 worth of debt, get it off their books, and go on. And it's on a 5 to 7 year plan, which is a good amount of time.
Do you have any ranges or minimums or maximums that this particular program is looking for? I know you guys do loans for all kinds of different things and all kinds of different sizes, but for this term loan programs that we're talking about, these ones that are kind of designed for the startups, and you have to have a credit score of above 700, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Is there like a minimum, maximum, a target number that people should be thinking about if they want to get in touch with you?
Really, kind of our minimum on that is anywhere around $5,000. If it's under $5,000, it's a little bit harder. But our max on those term loans is actually $300,000.
Okay.
So we can go up to that. Now, that's going to be based on how much they need, how much they qualify for, because we look at debt to income ratio, that DTI we've talked about before, and then also looks at credit utilization, credit history, things like that. So, but it's actually done on a really great process because it's done through a MyFICO report. When we do a MyFICO report, what that does is that you don't get a hard hit on your credit. We don't want to try to extend somebody credit that's a startup and hit their credit. But with the program that we're doing, they don't require us to do a hard hit. We can turn in one of these MyFICO reports, and that'll give them all the information without putting a ding on their credit, which is a big deal to us.
So how quick does something like that fund?
Those usually fund in about 7 to 10 days.
No
It can take up to 14 days if it's a larger line. But compared to going to your bank can take months to get you an answer. And, you know, they only meet to go over things maybe once or twice a month, maybe 4 times a month. And you kind of make sure you're on the docket. But with this, we can get it closed in usually 7 to 14 business days.
Kalah Sprabeary, Hub Funding Solutions, talking about just startup business and some of the funding available for that sort of thing. You also do other loans, that sort of thing. I was mentioning this because, you know, lack of capital can be such a big factor when it comes to making sure your business succeeds or fails. I don't know the statistics off the top of my head, but I know it's above 70%.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And cash flow, especially if you're doing something that takes a little time for income to come in, if you bill someone and you've got a 30-day pay on there, and they don't pay you for 35 or 45 or 60 days, I mean, it can tank your business before you can even get started. All that seed money's gone. So the term loan program helps with that. And then also we have a business card program and a personal credit card program. And the business credit cards are actually awesome. It's the same thing. It is a 700 credit score up to $150,000 line of credit. The great thing is that it's a 0% interest rate for 6 to 12 months. And then after that, you're running around 6 to 16%, which is still much lower than, say, getting a Visa card. I know at one time Visa cards were like 23% interest. And the great thing about the credit cards is that you're actually applying for it under you, but it goes under your business's credit. So it actually builds a business credit profile with this one credit card. My husband and I actually did this back in 2012, before I was in this arena, and we need to fund a small business we have. SBA turned us down. Our small town bank wanted us to put 20% down. We're like, well, that kind of defeats the purpose. And so we actually did one of these credit card programs back then, and it built credit for our business that was huge. We were able to go about 6 months after that, and we had a great credit profile because we had this really simple business credit card. And it just made things so great. We haven't used that entity in a long time, but we still get applications and approvals for credit cards and lines of credit for that entity today, simply because we built that credit early on.
Interesting. So there's a personal one too? You can do a personal credit card and a business one?
Yes, the personal credit card has the same type of rates, and it runs around a 700 credit score as well. So the personal one is going to be good for people who are independent contractors or someone that doesn't necessarily have an entity tied to them. It's also great for attorneys, if you have a doctor that's coming online early on. Realtors are a great example of that. A realtor is an independent contractor. They have to come up with their own cash flow. And as you know, it can take 45, 60 days to close on a property sometimes. So this type of a credit program is really good for them to be able to create cash flow and use that when they need it.
And again, these are for 700 plus scores, essentially, from the different credit card or credit bureaus, that sort of thing. And there's no hard hit in terms of determining if they are of the score.
Correct.
Okay, so
correct.
But before we go on to the next thing, how can people get in touch with you? As long as it's kind of a neat thing you have going on here. So as long as that's fresh on our mind, just kind of throw out an email or a phone or something like that.
Yeah, our website is hubfundingsolutions.com. And then you can always call us. We're phone call people. You can always call us at 806-777-2902. And Riley's our account rep that takes care of a lot of the calls that come in. But it just helps us connect with people. We don't even mind if somebody wants to call and just bounce something off of us. We want to connect with people to let them know what their options are, because there are options out there.
Summer's coming up, and if somebody was interested in doing one of those ice shaved shacks or maybe a hot dog stand, just kind of one of those little modernized, lemonade hot dog stands that, kids used to do, and now they're pretty complex. I'm not talking to the tune about, having a food truck or anything like that, but, maybe something a father and son or a family can, get and do together, talking about something, a $15,000 to $20,000 maybe investment, something like that. Do you ever help people like that are looking at, getting into those little family businesses or whatever their first
absolutely.
Ice shack is? Yeah, talk to me a little bit about how somebody what would they do? They're sitting at the dinner table talking about, doing Harry's shaved ice over there on Jackson Street or something,
What they really need is coming in and getting their last 2 years' tax returns, their 2016 and 2017 tax return, or 2017 and 2018, depending on what they filed. And they can go through a link and do the MyFICO. That's all that we require up front to basically see if it's possible. And that's what gives us an answer. It's really simple. I know it seems like it's too simple, but it's just a good way to find out if somebody's ability to do that.
Let me ask you about another one of the services you guys do. It had to do with receivables, purchase orders, that sort of thing. I know is something I have down in my notes, so I had to ask you about it. So what is that service you guys do with that?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we have a couple of options there. We have AR, accounts receivable, factoring. There are lines of credit based on your AR, and then there is PO financing. Those are really some areas that people see that they can use their AR as a cash model. Say they're not getting paid for what's supposed to be 30 days and they don't get paid till 60 or 70 days. We like to try to fit them into a factoring or line of credit that works with their customers. They also help with getting collections done on that end. So it's a really good tool that a lot of people don't see as a good thing, but it really is if it's done correctly. And what we do is we don't do factoring in-house. What we do is we help pair. We work with about 15 different factoring companies that also do lines of credit, do the PO, and we find one that matches the customers that they like to work with and the terms that they need. Like construction factoring is a big deal because it is done through a special type of invoicing. It's called progressive billing, and a lot of people don't work with it. Well, we have several companies that do. One of my companies is awesome. He was actually a general contractor before he got into the business, and so they work with construction companies to actually help fund them while they're doing the progressive billing, so they're not missing out on any money.
So if I'm a business owner or maybe work in accounts receivable, something like that, what are some of the signs that I should be looking for that I should say, you know what, probably give you a call. Give Kayla a call over there at Hub Funding Solutions to get some of this help on receivables, get some help on these purchase orders, because sometimes people are so in over their heads, they don't even know what to do. They have no idea what to do, where to even start.
Right. Well, we make it really simple. Basically, if you see that your AR statements that you can pull up in QuickBooks or however you're doing it, if it's getting further and further behind, go ahead and give us a call. If you pull on a new customer and they say, oh yeah, we pay in 60 days or 45 days, call us, because there are ways to make this work where you don't end up in a hole while you're waiting on them to pay, because you want to take on the customer, but you don't necessarily want to wait 60 days to get your money. And then also if they're getting behind on their accounts payable, if you have vendors that need to be paid, call us. And here's the other thing is there are some people that are factoring now. They may be factoring with a really large company, or maybe they're paying too much. If you're paying above 3% for your factoring, call me. There are a lot of options out there, and that's part of what we do is we match you with who really fits your wants, needs, and budget, because factoring is great, but you want to make sure it's working with you.
Transportation is going to be going through an overhaul here in the next several years. I know that a few times in the past we spoke about some transportation funding. I don't know if that was a spike in what was going on in your funding or if there were special loans at that time, but anything happening in the world of transportation? I know sometimes you need special loans to get involved with that side of business.
Yeah, transportation is one of our biggest areas that we fund. Whether it's local, we do a little bit of over the road, a few owner-operators, but we especially work with people with fleets of 3 or more trucks. And we can fund everything from the trucks themselves, even used. And that's a big thing, Jason. It's better now to get a used truck than it is a new truck, unless you just need a new truck because you're going to put a lot of miles on it. But we are able to fund a lot of used trucks that really makes sense, whether they're doing local or over the road, that a lot of banks can't touch simply because of their age. They may have been completely overhauled, but the bank can't touch it because it was originally from 1994. None of that matters to us. We're able to come in and fund that. Then we can also help on the receivable side if it's something that they need to see that they need to open up some capital. So we can do working capital there, we can do the factoring there, we can do equipment financing. So just basically help them strategize to make a good plan. We're actually working with a trucking company right now that we're going to be taking some of the trucks that were originally in the owner's name and on the owner's credit, and we're going to refinance them and put them under the company itself and get them off of his credit. He's a great business owner. They do really well. He's just loaded down his personal credit with these trucks, and we're going to get them off of there and get them on the business where they belong.
One of your programs got me thinking earlier about the credit scores, and they've got looks like they've settled in on 3 different ones that people check in on and pull from, that sort of thing. Do you know why they have the 3 different ones? Is it just to have kind of a 3, I guess, non-partial different entities? I mean, do they all pull from the same thing? Do they look for different things? I mean, I don't know how versed you are on the 3 different types of credit bureaus there are, but I know a lot of times in your line of work, you have to pull from 3 different ones, right?
Right. We normally try to do a soft pull from TransUnion, but we end up looking at all 3 bureaus. And all of them basically pull from different reporting systems. Different companies and credit holders actually report to those. Did you know that most of the time your local bank doesn't report to credit unless you miss a payment? So they're not saying how good you're doing. They're actually just, if you miss a payment, they ding you. Or if you default, they put it on your credit. But they're not reporting the good things. Are you aware of that?
I've always wondered that in terms of if they do record the good stuff, because it almost seems like it's you kind of default into this bad area. If you miss a payment, it dings you, but if you get payments ahead, they don't care. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I've always noticed that, and I thought that was the oddest thing why banks don't do that, and I'm not really sure. I've never been able to answer that question. Ask a banker sometime why they don't report. I'm just curious.
Yeah.
But one of the things that is really interesting is they don't do that, and that's why we try to put our clients on business credit. We're actually either helping them set up business credit, or we want to help them get things on their business credit. There is a business credit that you may not know about. It's called PayNet. And PayNet is kind of like the Equifax TransUnion of the business world. And what happens there is that different companies actually report independently to PayNet. PayNet is now the new standard for business credit reporting. So it used to be the Dun & Bradstreet. You ever heard of Dun & Bradstreet?
No, I've never heard of PayNet either.
Okay, so we'll start with this. Dun & Bradstreet, or your DMB, it's where you could establish a DUNS number. You can report credit. People report to it, but most of the time you can actually do your reporting. You can pay to alter that, which is not a bad thing. But people needed to see a more independent side of that. So PayNet came up several years ago, and PayNet has people who report to it. And so, like your vendors, most people who buy supplies, say if you're a roofing contractor, the guy that supplies your shingles is probably reporting you to PayNet. The guy you get your lumber from is reporting you to PayNet. And so it makes a really big deal, because that's what's creating your credit, your business profile's credit on your FEIN number. So when we come in and we work with all of our people to put it on their business credit, we are building their business credit. So you can go to, say, a roofing company. Roofing company does some things with us, and they're establishing business credit, and they need to go get a new shingle provider. Well, that shingle provider is going to pull their business credit for their entity, and bam, it shows, hey, yeah, they have equipment that they're paying on regularly. They have vehicles they're paying on regularly. Oh, and look, they have this other supplier. They're on there as well. That actually helps them get better rates, discounts, better pay terms. So it's really all about building that credit profile, which is what we want to do. We don't want it on their personal. We want to get the business its own credit.
So kind of circling back to the beginning, let's kind of summarize those new credit programs, those new funding programs where you need a 700 or above, or even above that in some cases, in order to access these, but it's targeted for small business and entrepreneurs, that sort of thing. Okay, just kind of summarize those once again.
Yeah, so we have our term loan program that's up to $300,000. 700 credit score, and they usually run 5 to 7 year loans with a fixed monthly payment, no prepayment penalty. and the rates run between 5 and 14%. Then we have our unsecured business credit card. It goes up to $150,000. 700 credit score, which is what we're looking for again. 0% interest rate for 6 to 12 months, and it only reports to the business. So it's a good way to establish credit for your business. And then and the third thing is the personal credit card program. This is going to be great for anybody who's an independent contractor or somebody who they are their business. It can be anyone from a baker to an attorney, a realtor. These programs are really great for them because they are their business. And so this helps give them capital without having a huge long-term loan. And
contact info once again?
And you can reach us at hubfundingsolutions.com or by calling 806-777-2902.
And anything we forgot to leave out, I'd like to give guests the final word. So anything you want to reiterate or anything we missed out?
Yeah, basically, we're just here for small businesses. We want to see you grow. We're here to help all the way from your startups all the way into mature businesses that are ready to redo something or to start a new program. We're really here to help businesses grow.